Welcome to the Milton Historical Society online presentation. This 10-minute story of Hutchinson and his cottage in the country is the first in our new series of short online presentations. Using items from our collection and archives, we'll tell the stories of people and events in Milton and in American history. Who was Thomas Hutchinson? Born in 1711 to one of Boston's oldest families, he is best known as the Royal Governor of Massachusetts during the years leading to the Revolutionary War. As war came, this once respected merchant and statesman was increasingly despised as a loyalist and as a traitor to the cause of liberty. By 1780, at the end of his life, as John Adams tells us, Hutchinson was the most hated man in America, at least among the Revolutionary patriots. And his cottage in the country? That's his name for the country house he built in Milton in 1743. The Boston Mansion. This Boston home of the Hutchinson family was located on Garden Court in the North End section of Boston. It was one of the largest houses in colonial New England. Like many other wealthy Bostonians, Hutchinson owned a second home, a country house, to escape the city's summertime heat and disease. Historian Brian Doherty wrote that the Milton House was a place to which Hutchinson escaped for rest and refreshment. But as the years passed, the house also became a place of retreat from political troubles. Nothing remains of the Milton House. It was looted, confiscated, sold several times, remodeled, and finally torn down. The Society owns this watercolor of the house, which stood on Milton Hill near today's Adams Street. Painted by John Rito Penniman, this is the only known image of the Milton House as it looked when Hutchinson lived there. In 1827, the artist joined the Boston Light Infantry when they marched out to Milton and camped on the grounds of the governor's former estate. Penniman was along to make a draft of the house, and he painted this watercolor. Born in Milford, Massachusetts in 1782, Penniman was a successful decorative painter. He decorated furniture for Thomas Seymour, the famous cabinet maker, and painted clock faces for Simon Willard, the premier clockmaker. Penniman also did portraits and landscapes and specialized in painting gentlemen's country estates. As one historian said, the cottage was more like Monticello than a simple country cottage. It was low and long, with 9 rooms and 1.5 stories. One visitor described it as a house of luxury, comfort, simplicity, and good taste. The estate included gardens, flower beds, a working farm, a barn, stables, a gardener's cottage, and other outbuildings. The buildings are gone, but some things remain on the grounds, and you can get a sense of Hutchinson's landscape. If you know Milton, you may be familiar with this view. Hutchinson's Field, a portion of the original 95 acres, today is preserved and protected by the Trustees, a Massachusetts land preservation organization. This is an early sketch of Hutchinson's Field. Just as we do today, he and his visitors appreciated the view from Milton Hill, above the Neponset River, with panoramic scenes of Boston Harbor, the Inner Harbor Islands, and the Blue Hills to the south. The land also gave Hutchinson the ability to experiment in horticulture. He was especially interested in growing fruit trees. For a glimpse into his apple interests, the Society has a 1751 letter we call the Cider Letter. Transcribed here, Hutchinson wrote this to Robert Hale of Beverly. In the lower right-hand corner, you see the Hale House as it stands today. A former captain in the British Army, Hale, like Hutchinson, was a businessman, a political office holder, with a country estate and an interest in horticulture. Hutchinson wanted to know a lot. We don't know if the busy Captain Hale found time to answer. Likely he did, but no known response exists. This letter is a rare pre-1765 Hutchinson document. Most of his papers previous to 1765 were lost or burned in the Stamp Act riots of that year, when a mob burnt and looted his Boston mansion on Garden Court. Hutchinson was married for 20 years to Margaret Sanford, daughter of Rhode Island Governor William Sanford. They had 12 children. After Margaret died in 1754, Hutchinson never remarried. Not remarrying was unusual for the time, especially for a man with young children to raise, and for one as wealthy and elite as Hutchinson. In the years leading to the Revolutionary War, the family enjoyed happy summers in Milton. But the 1760s saw increasing political tensions, worsening during Hutchinson's time as governor. After the Boston Tea Party in December 1773, the unpopular Hutchinson fled to Milton to escape the violence threatened by the Boston radicals. Within a few months, Hutchinson fled Milton, too, and sailed for England, thinking he would soon return. Surely the new military governor, British General Thomas Gage, would calm the Boston mobs and restore order. This did not happen. War began, and the colonies declared their independence. The day Hutchinson arrived, King George III summoned him to give a detailed briefing on the situation in Massachusetts. The conversation turned to Milton, and Hutchinson gave the king this memorable comment: "My house in Milton is a pleasant situation, and most gentlemen from abroad say it has the finest prospect from it they ever saw." While away, Hutchinson thought of Milton often. He longed to return, but Massachusetts formally banished him as a loyalist, and he could not go back. Milton is often in the diaries and letters he wrote in exile. For instance, he sent directions to his son Tommy, who stayed behind, for grafting the estate's pear trees, for taking care of the gooseberries, and for numerous other jobs around the house and grounds. In England, Hutchinson was invited to several country estates, like Winepole Hall, where wealthy Englishmen were anxious for news about the colonies. Treated to the life of English aristocracy, Hutchinson claimed there was no place like his humble cottage in Milton. After a weekend at Winepole, he wrote home, "I would not have parted with my humble cottage at Milton for all the high life among the noble men of England." Fortunately, for our understanding of history, something of his life in Milton is preserved in the Milton Historical Society. In addition to the watercolor of the country house and the cider letter, our collections include Hutchinson's clock, mirror, door knocker, and family Bible. In upcoming talks, we'll explore these objects and how the Milton House and its door knocker played a brief but pivotal role in the American Revolution. Thank you for listening, and please watch for additional online talks. Visit our website or Facebook page, and remember to consider a Milton Historical Society membership to help preserve Milton and American history.